Okay, so our today's topic is geomorphic process and the landform of the earth. Yeah. So here I can share you some slide which can be a reference point for our understanding. Okay. Here this is a I think you can see this particular slide. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I'm coming to in the explanation of this particular classification in the latter part of this particular session. Rather, I am very much interested to explain the geomorphic process, or what is the concept of geomorphic process. What is the meaning of the word geomorphic? Okay. In that case, the whole geography is basically dominated by this word geomorphic. Geo means earth and morphic, which is related to some process. That means the whole earth, if we taken different landform features like the plateaus, mountain, plains, rivers, and all other smaller landforms, which we will get to know in the later part, that these all landforms which are governed by or formed by some process, so that we are terming it as a geomorphic process. So what is the meaning of geomorphic? The word came from the word geomorphology, and geomorphic means earth process, that those processes which are operating behind the formation of each and every landform, starting from the mountain to the plateau, then plain, then the some oceanic landform, then some landform formed at the bottom of the oceans. Each and every kind of landform, those are backed by or driven by certain kind of process. Okay, there is a famous geographer named as William Morris Davis, who stated that landform, or the landform which you can see on the earth's surface, that is the function of structure, process, and stage. Okay, three terminology mentioned by the William Morris Davies. What he has explained, he has explained that each and every landform, if we take landform as a unit, then landform is the function. That function means that landform will be formed by, is the function of three things. What are those three things? Structure, secondly it is process, and thirdly it is stage. Okay, this chapter particularly, the chapter 4 of your syllabus, is related to the process, this one. But like structure means what? We know that in our earth surface there are some rocks which are hard and some rocks which are soft. There are some rocks which are we can say that formed or found as like this in a horizontal way. There are some rocks which are found like this in an inclined way. Okay, that means the stratigraphy or layering of the rocks, this is also related to the structure. There are some rock which are porous, that means where the water can easily penetrate, like sedimentary rocks are much porous than the igneous rocks. So that porosity or permeability of the water is also a part of the structure. So structure means what is the nature of rocks, or what is the nature of earth surface, that is structure. And what is the process? Process means there are two processes behind each and every landform formation. One is endogenetic and another is exogenetic. And I can remember that you have learned about these things in the class 8 syllabus also. And I can remember that I have also discussed in the offline mode in live class at the school about this endogenetic and exogenetic process. We will discuss in detail in this section. And the stage means the time. That means formation of each and every landform, whether it is a mountain or whether it is a plateau or whether it is a plain. Okay, as for example, this is mountain. This can we can conceptualize at plateau, and this we can conceptualize as a plane. So whether whatever the landform types, all the landforms or formation of the all the landforms is dependent on the time. That means the geological time. As for example, our Himalayan mountain that has been formed in the Tertiary period. Okay, this is a geologic period in the form tertiary in the age of Tertiary period, and it is not formed in a single day. Rather, it has formed over a long geological period, say for million of years. 1 million equal to 10 lakh, say for million of years. The formation of the Himalayan mountain taken million of years. And then after the formation, the Himalayan mountain has been continuously affected by different geomorphic agent. So there is another term which is known as geomorphic agent. Okay, that means those agents or those are responsible for the erosion, transportation, and deposition of the earth material. What is earth material? As for example, the rocks. Himalayan mountain formed with certain kind of rocks. The rocks may be sedimentary, maybe igneous, maybe metamorphic. And over this rock surface, if it is the Himalayan mountain surface, over this rock surface, many geomorphic agents are operating. As for example, the agents like river, which have been originated from this Himalayan mountain, the glacier, that means the moving ice sheet. Himalaya, at the top of the Himalayan mountain, there is a permanent deposition of the ice, and those ice sheets are moving from top to the bottom in this way, and then melting on the river water. So then this movement of the ice sheet is known as glacier, and glacier is also a geomorphic agent. There are another geomorphic agent which is known as wind. Okay, this is also acting on all these landform types, whether it is mountain, plateau, or plain. Sorry. Other geomorphic agents are known as the sea waves. That means if you have visited in the Digha or Mandarmani or somewhere in the Sagar region, then you may have seen that continuous fluctuation of the sea water in form of waves, and it is approaching towards the seashore and continuously eroding and transporting the materials found and at the coastal region or beach region. So the sea wave is also a geomorphic agent. Another geomorphic agent is groundwater. Okay, so in this way, that means what I can say, I am trying to explain that there are some geomorphic agents which are operating on the earth surface. Earth surface means there will be mountain, plateau, plain, ocean, everything there will be. So geomorphic agents are operating on the earth surface, and depending on the structure of the rocks, depending on the certain kind of process, that means river, it will erode in a particular process which will be different or maybe similar with the glacier. Okay, I will explain it in detail in later part. So there are some process, endogenetic, exogenetic, and within endogenetic there are certain process, within exogenetic there are certain sub process. So depending on the process, with the help of the geomorphic agents and depending on the structure across the time period, that means the stage, across this time period, the landform will form and it will be evolved. Evolved means that height of the mountain may be lowered down, and a mountain can be transformed into plateau. A plateau can be transformed into the plain. At the same time, a plain region which you can see today, that in future there may be a mountain depending on the the structure, process, and stage. Okay, a plateau region that may be transformed into the mountain, and vice versa, or alternatively, it can be opposite. Okay, so in this way, the landforms and its formation process and its evolution process can be explained. Is that clear? Any question?
No, sir.
Okay,
No, sir.
okay. Now come to the division which I have displayed at the beginning of the class. The division is something like this. I think you can see the classification system in your book also, it is there. Okay, so here it is saying that terrestrial geomorphic process. Terrestrial means what? Terrestrial means the geomorphic process which is functioning over the territory or land surface, or the earth surface, we can say whole earth surface, whether it is land or whether it is water, it doesn't matter, but that but the whole things are categorized as terrestrial. And within terrestrial, land is most important, the land surface. This terrestrial geomorphic process, which can be categorized into two, endogenetic and exogenetic. What is endogenetic? Endogenetic means the factors which are operating or functioning within the structure of the earth. If it is the surface of the earth, and from the surface of the earth, based on your knowledge of earth interior, it is extended up to 6371 kilometer from the earth surface to the earth core here, and divided into multiple types like crust, mantle, and core. So those process which are operating inside of the earth surface, that is called endogenetic. Okay, as for example, inside of the earth surface, what we can see there, at the inside of the earth surface, as we know, there are certain division: crust, mantle, and core. Specifically in the mantle, the materials are in liquid state or quasi liquid, that means neither solid nor liquid, middle of it. Uh, the materials found there in the mantle in a quasi liquid state, and in the mantle, and also in the core, and the crustal surface also, there are the abundance of particular element called radioactive element. Okay, like uranium, thorium, etc. These radioactive element and its disintegration, that means a broader element will be separated to multiple smaller unit, that is disintegration. As for example, uranium, which will be uranium which will be disintegrated into smaller unit of uranium. Okay, from molecule, from atom to the molecule, or sorry, from molecule to the atom. In this way, that the radioactive element will be disintegrated, and because of this disintegration, it can capable of generation of heat, and that heat is the source of temperature within the inside of the earth. And because of this heat source, what happened, multiple process which are operating within the earth's surface, responsible for formation of, or responsible for the diastrophic movement. I will explain these things in a detailed way in our future sessions, but just it is an overview that endogenetic process, which is related to the radioactive elements and the generation of the heat, and then depend based on the availability of the heat, there will be the movement called diastrophic movement. Those diastrophic movement can be categorized into two: slow movement and sudden movement. Slow movement means the diastrophic movement or the earth movement which need much longer time, say million of years. Those are slow movement, like tectonic movements in form of plate tectonics. I will explain the plate tectonic also. Isostatic movement, like in form of that sometimes the sea water level will fall down, and then sometimes it will be up seawater level will increase. As for example, recent days, because of the climate change and temperature increase, the ice at the polar region, those are melting, and because of the melting of the ice, the global seawater is rising. So the rising and falling of the seawater is related to the is related to the eustatic movement. Is eustatic movement, and isostatic movements is something that if somewhere you want to form a from a, we can say, the depression. As for example, if you want to dig a pond, then definitely you need to form a mound, or you need to form a we can say small hillock, that where you can deposit the digged out material from the pond. The soil which you have dug out from the pond, that need to be deposited somewhere else, and the height of that will be higher. Something, if it is a depression and if it is a pond kind of thing, then you need to deposit the material or extracted material somewhere else, and the height will be like this. The same things. That means isostatic movements. If somewhere there is a depression, definitely somewhere there will be a mountain. Okay. If the height of certain place is lower, then it will be balanced by some other places which height is higher. Okay, I will also explain it in detail. Then tectonic movement categorized into epirogenic and orogenic. Epirogenic means ups and down movements in this direction. Orogenic means movements in lateral way, something in this way. Okay. Then epirogenic, upward and downward, as I have told, and orogenic, compressive and tensile. Okay, something towards each other and maybe away from each other. When the movement is towards each other, then it will be compressive. When the movement is away from each other, then there will be tensile force. Okay, so these are the diastrophic movement classification. On the other hand, there is a sudden process, like which do not depend on the time. As for example, earthquake, it may have happened anytime. Volcanic activity, if in a particular place, the eruption can take place anytime. These are sudden events categorized under the diastrophic movement. On the other hand, the majority of the geomorphic process, which are exogenetic, dependent on what? This exogenetic process, this is done by geomorphic. Exogenetic process is done by geomorphic agents. And what are the geomorphic agents? I have told you, river is a geomorphic agent, glacial is a geomorphic agent, then groundwater is a geomorphic agent, wind is a geomorphic agent. Okay, so those are geomorphic agents. Those geomorphic agents, depending on the Davis trio, that means the structure, process and stage, they will either degrade. That means degradation means if height of the certain place is higher, it will be lowered down, something in this way. Its height will be lowered down continuously. This is degradation. Aggradation means what? Aggradation means opposite. That means if height of a certain place is lower, it the at future period of time the height will be increased. This is aggradation, deposition of the material. Okay, degradation can be categorized into certain division. What are those? Like weathering is a process of degradation. There is a specific chapter of weathering. Okay, we need to explain it in detail. Mass wasting means that if there is a mountain and materials are falling in this way from the top of the mountain to the plain, then this is mass wasting. Okay, like landslide is a kind of mass wasting. And also erosion. Okay, erosion, which can be, you can see, fluvial erosion is the alternative name of river erosion by the river, aeolian erosion or erosion by the wind, glacier erosion by the glacier, erosion by the groundwater, marine erosion by the sea wave. Okay, so these are under the degradation means erosion or lowering down of the height of the any features or landform. On the other hand, there is aggradation. Aggradation means deposition. That means materials will be eroded someplace and then it will be deposited in some other place. and because of the deposition, the height of the particular place will be increased. Deposition can be done by the river. How it can be done by the river, we will explain. Deposition can be done by the glacier. It can also done by the other geomorphic agents, okay, like groundwater, ocean, air, etc. And within the exogenetic process, there are third element, that is biotic process. That means the aggradation and degradation when it is done by plants or animal. How it can be done by plants and animal? Plant root, it can be a factor of weathering. We will explain that. Plant material can be decayed and transformed into the soil, and it can also be also help in the process of landform formation. Animals are also responsible, including the human being is also responsible for the exogenetic process, because anthropogenic activity or the activities of the human, particularly if you are trying to build a road in the mountainous region, this is anthropogenic activity or activity done by the human, and because of that many things can be happen. Maybe a landslide can happen, maybe erosion can be increased in the mountainous region. So in this way, biotic process or the process which has been governed by the biotic elements like plant and animals including human being, those are also part of the geomorphic process. So our objective in this chapter to understand each and every geomorphic agents or geomorphic process mentioned here, and that we will discuss in our future session.